Hi everybody. So as I said in my previous video, I am going to try and focus on some good horror novellas. And this one came across my feed as it's starting to kind of climb up the ranks in Amazon sales. And I noticed it was on Kindle Unlimited, which by the way is awesome if you're a horror reader. Kindle Unlimited is a really great source for horror, especially smaller publications of horror. So the novella that I would like to review today is Telecommuting by L. Marie Wood. Ms. Wood is a horror writers associate. Try that again. She is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and she's a screenwriter and author of a number of her bio describes it as psychological horror, and I would count Telecommuting as a very psychological horror. I really enjoyed this one. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The only reason it didn't get a full 5 stars is there's a couple little editing issues, and yes, I am so petty that way, but there's a couple little kind of hanging typos, and there were a couple of misused words, and I swear I'm going to get every editor in the world and sit them down with a lesson on lay versus lie, because even in Big 5 and even in smaller works, it's often used incorrectly, and there's one spot where it is, and it just drives me crazy. So anyway, so that's what loses half a star. I'm sorry I'm petty like that, but anyway, otherwise this was a great read. It was so much fun, and as you see, I've got my little headset on. So it's a story of a unnamed male protagonist. He's just moved into a big house, and by the sounds of it, it's one of those awful gated community McMansion type houses, which are kind of not very friendly to begin with. And his partner, who basically bought the house because of her, she leaves him just as they're about to move in, which kind of screws him financially. So he takes this job as a project manager for an IT company. And he's got a little headset, and he has all his, his IT gear and his Zoom meetings and everything set up. And so the first thing that I really enjoyed was that the story really sort of captures the frustrating, annoying minutiae of setting up your home office and being on call 24/7 as a home employee. Like, people think that because you work at home, therefore you're not, you're basically tied to the job. Like, this is a leash. And that is just so frustrating. I mean, it's even frustrating when you work in a call center and you're expected to work varying shifts. But when you're trying to work from home, and they feel free to just, set up a meeting at 3:00 in the morning and not think that, oh, you might be sleeping. It really captures that frustration. And another thing that I really enjoyed that this story hit the nail on the head of was that the frustration of the last year and a half with COVID. A lot of people have been working at home, and their only contact with the outside world is through Zoom meetings, through a screen. You maybe gain a little bit of weight. You start to get anxious because you don't know how to talk to people anymore, and you start to realize that you haven't actually set foot outside in weeks. Maybe you've been ordering all your meals, maybe, it really captures that sense of isolation, and half of you wants to go back into meat space again, but half of you doesn't care if you ever do or not. And that's kind of where this protagonist is. And he's also an unreliable narrator. So he'll be going along, and then all of a sudden he'll have this like weird violent fantasy, and you kind of take a step back and you're like, wait, did that happen? And the story starts to work on your mind that way, because he's not a reliable narrator. He spent all his time in his head for the last however many weeks, and now all this weird stuff is starting to happen. So he watches as his neighbor gets pulled away in a body bag, and you wonder what happened there. And then his other neighbor, his nosy, the nosy Parker in the neighborhood, comes to welcome him, and her dog runs into the dining room and comes out with an arm. What? Oh, by the way, there's going to be some spoilers here. And so he starts seeing all this strange stuff. So there starts to be a question as to under what circumstances did his ex actually leave? Is she alive? Is she dead? Did he kill her? Did somebody else kill her and she's just appearing to him? What is going on? And I really enjoyed that sort of unreliable quality to it. And also, the other thing that I really appreciated about the story is its absolute reliance on modern technology, on cell phones and social media and Zoom meetings, and the way that that can cause a strange break in your psychology. Horror works when the protagonists, when the characters are isolated. That's why you have people in cabins in the woods. That's why you have cell phones that don't work. That's why you have cars that don't start. When a person is isolated, they're vulnerable. So we live in a modern world where everybody is connected all the time. Everybody is on their cell phone. Everybody, you can reach anyone at the drop of a hat, at the push of a button. So what happens when the technology is part of the horror? And I found that really, really well done in the way that it works into the story. And so this guy just kind of gets crazier and crazier, and it's a really, really good depiction of isolation and also of sort of the modern angst. Oh, and and again, one of the issues that happens with working in computers is tendonitis and or whatever this is, carpal tunnel. So you can see I'm all wired up just to celebrate Telecommuting by L. Marie Wood. Great read, lots of fun, 4.5 stars. I hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.